Dear students, we are going to talk about a very important aspect that comes to our mind whenever we talk about the culture. That do non human beings or animals possess the culture, just like human beings? It's a very tricky question and it has very interesting answers. But culture is probably not rare in animals, although pretty hard experimental research is yet to produce some concrete evidence to testify that whether non-human entities like animals do possess the culture or as complex culture as societies, human societies in general. So there are difference of opinion about this issue, and that some scholars are of the view that language plays a very crucial role in producing culture, since non-human beings or animals do not possess language as complex as human beings do. So they cannot possess or they cannot produce the complex cultures or the systematic cultures as the human beings do possess the cultures. But on the other hand, there are certain experiments on animals which are being produced since 1950s, especially on chimpanzees and especially on chimpanzees, which portray or which reflect that perhaps animals do possess the capacity to learn the complex systems of communication, although the success rate is very low because chimpanzees were not being able to learn more than 4 words to pronounce, and there were certain efforts by different scholars and by different scientists to teach them the sign languages like American Sign Language. However, there were not so much fruitful results of those experiments as well. So the strongest case of culture is found in the species most amenable to experimental manipulation rather than in non-human primates. But as you know, the human culture is much more likely to be cumulative than the animal culture because of the complexity of our societies. So the reasons for this are yet to be established. However, at this point, there is no reason to assume that the cumulative culture depends critically on teaching, imitation, language, or perspective taking. When we say that perspective taking, we do assume that human beings do possess opinion. Human beings have the ability to produce some very abstract conceptualization, some non material aspects of culture which are being lacked by the animals. So language and the production and use of tools are central elements to non-material and material culture. So does it make sense to say that the culture is merely limited to to human beings only? Well, it's a controversial topic, and we do not yet have any concrete evidence to produce any substantial conclusion for the either side. And so far we can say that scientists and scholars do agree that humans have refined culture to a far greater degree than have any other animals. And to conclude that unless animals are able to produce the complex system of language, they cannot have that complex system of culture as complex as human societies do possess.